Well, YouTube, it happened. Free speech is dead in the Great White North. Canada once again cucked itself out to Islam with Liberal MP Iqra Khalid's Motion 103, the motion to counter Islamophobia, passing with tripartisan support, and support from all three Canada's major parties, effectively making criticism of Islam in Canada illegal. Even Canada's Conservative Party, the most cucked group of so-called right-wingers known as the Progressive Conservatives, yeah, the PCs, not only didn't put up a fight, but lent support to the motion. My guess is that the Libs weren't expecting the PCs to pass the motion and wanted to use it as a politically correct club to beat them with, and maybe even score some political points on their friends across the aisle. But the walking contradiction that is the Progressive Conservatives took this opportunity instead to virtue signal just how progressive they are and show everyone what good goys they are, that they're the tolerant, nice conservatives, principles be damned. And because nothing says progressive like implementing what essentially amounts to religious blasphemy laws in a secular democracy, this so-called secular nation, which, by the way, has no issues being secular when it comes to shitting on Christianity, but it just loves to cuck out to this invasive alien religion that is Islam. Now, if you're saying, Arlo, Islamophobia isn't criticism, shut up. You're an idiot. Go watch the Young Turks. They're around your IQ level. It might as well be illegal to talk about it, because who's willing to take the risk of the subjective judgment of what is or isn't Islamophobia, a risk of fine and possibly even jail time? Even if these were just guidelines, it would have the same effect of pooling any and all criticism of the belief system that is in most dire need of criticism. Whether it be cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or a cultural critique of Sharia law, or legitimate Islamophobia, it will all be silenced at the same time. This motion essentially puts the power of the state behind the screeching blue-haired SJW harpies and anti-Western imams to whom it's just become against the law of the land to criticize. Once again, we have just taken the religion, the belief system that is in most desperate need of a reformation, of criticism, of healthy critique, and made it illegal to do so. We effectively have insulated it from outside criticism and thus from forces of reformation. Now this goes beyond just an abridged to freedom of speech. This could be setting back a reformation within Islam years, perhaps even indefinitely. We don't know. We may never know. And as far as I'm concerned, any religion or any ideology for that matter, which cannot withstand mockery or harsh criticism, does not deserve to have a place in the public square, and definitely is not deserving of any special protections. So a bit of background to this bill, or this motion rather. This motion was introduced following a shooting at a Quebec mosque a few months ago in order to quell the public climate of hate and fear, and calls on the Canadian government to take steps to end religious discrimination. Now, there are several points of contention within this motion that cause it to be problematic. Oh, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I just said problematic. Fuck me. Anyways, the first issue is that the motion is based on a completely unsubstantiated assumption that anti-Muslim sentiment is even on the rise in Canada, or at all, following the Quebec mosque attack, when in reality, following said attack, there's nothing but an outpouring of support from the local community. Now, although M-103 summons the government to quell the increasing public climate of hate and fear, it's a direct quote, proponents have produced no evidence for that claim, that there is such a public climate growing. No statistics were presented to the House, no cases of Islamophobia cited, just a Muslim victim card waved around the Parliament by Khalid as she cites strong anti-Muslim sentiment, alleging she is among thousands of Muslims who are victimized by anti-Muslim bigotry on a daily basis without citing any actual examples or furnishing any legitimate evidence, of course. Secondly, the document also fails to identify or define the term Islamophobia. According to Freudian psychology, a phobia is an overwhelming fear of an object or situation that poses little to no real threat or danger, but provokes fear or avoidance. So, phobia is not just a fear, but an irrational fear that goes beyond any legitimate worry of what can realistically happen to you. But I would put forward that fear of Islam is not only logical or rational, but completely legitimate, as fear of Islam is fear of having acids thrown in one's face, fear of being run over by a truck, blown up in a suicide attack, or by a bomb at a marathon, or perhaps even beheaded on live TV or in a church. The problem here is that condemning Islamophobia without objectively defining it will stifle legitimate debate over controversies like Sharia law or the niqab. Here's the thing. Who will determine the subjective standard of what is or isn't Islamophobia? Islamophobia can be anything. Is Islamophobia simply a discussion of whether or not Sharia law is compatible with Western Christian values? Is Islamophobia cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? A simple discussion of the compatibility of the Quran with Western values can easily provoke accusations of Islamophobia. Evidence of this, how this subjective standard can stifle debate, is easily seen in one of the other phobias du jour, homophobia, which is commonly used as a paralyzing insult for anyone who expresses the slightest hesitation to embrace homosexual activity as an unqualified moral good. Simply put, this motion results in no Canadian ever again feeling safe uttering the words radical Islam. Now this leads me to my next point, is that this motion threatens to curb freedom of speech. A number of opponents to M-103, ones that have balls that is, has sustained that the motion threatens freedom of speech by targeting an attitude, Islamophobia, rather than a certain illegal behavior. As with the introduction of any hate crime legislation, it undermines the order of the criminal justice system by elevating the motive of hate above anger, above envy, lust, greed, or a host of other motivations for malfeasance. M-103 replicates this wrong-headed model by elevating one's state of mind above one's actions. Furthermore, Motion 103 is also dedicated to actively countering Islamophobia. So it would not be a stretch to say that efforts to curb Islamophobia might include pro-Muslim government propaganda, encouraging positive views of Islam, along with pressure on individuals not to express negative opinions of Islam. Among the few conservative politicians that have the balls to speak up, a man named Brad Trust expressed his fear that this motion would be an instrument of thought police in Ottawa, and Chris Alexander, former Minister of Immigration, said that M-103 is nothing more than ground zero for freedom of speech. That it creates a climate where certain opinions are prohibited, and committing wrongthink may actually be a prosecutable offense. In my opinion, the best way to prevent violence against a group is not by stifling debate or trying to sway public opinion with Orwellian public policy, but by making clear that certain violent behaviors will not be tolerated regardless of one's motives or intentions.